Something big is coming to Dutton Ranch, and it might not feel good. Fans have waited a long time for Season 2, and now small hints are pointing to something dark. People online are already saying this next season could break hearts before it makes anyone smile. A few leaks, a few interviews, and a few quiet comments from the cast are all pointing in the same direction. Something changes. Something ends. And someone might not make it out the way fans hope. This is not just another guess made for attention. When you put together what has been said so far, a pattern starts to show up, and that pattern points to pain. The kind of pain that changes how people watch the rest of the show. If you have followed this story from the start, you know the Dutton family has never had it easy. But what seems to be coming next feels different. It feels bigger. It feels personal. Some fans are already preparing for bad news. Others are hoping they are wrong. In this video, we are going to walk through what is actually known, what has only been hinted at, and why so many people believe this next chapter will hit harder than anything before it. Stay with this one, because by the end, you might understand why so many fans are nervous instead of excited. To understand why people are worried, you need to remember where Season 1 left things. The Dutton family did not end their story on a calm note. Several characters were left in dangerous situations, and more than one relationship was left broken or badly hurt. The ranch itself, which has always been treated like a member of the family, was under threat again, and that threat did not fully go away by the final scene. Some characters were forced to make hard choices, the kind of choices that usually come back around in painful ways. There were arguments that were never finished. There were secrets that were never fully told. And there was at least one character whose safety was left hanging in the air with no clear answer given. Shows like this rarely let go of unfinished pain. They tend to bring it back later, often in a bigger and heavier way. That is part of why fans are nervous now. The writers spent an entire season building pressure, and pressure like that usually needs a release. A quiet, easy Season 2 would almost feel wrong after how Season 1 ended. Many longtime viewers have pointed out that the show has a pattern. It builds trust with a character, lets the audience care about them, and then puts them through something difficult. That pattern has shaped almost every season so far, and there is no strong reason to think it will suddenly stop now. On top of that, real-life family land battles, the kind the show is based on, tend to only get harder as they go on. Money problems grow. Trust breaks down further. Old wounds get reopened instead of healed. If the new season follows that same real-world pattern, it makes sense why so many people expect heavier moments instead of lighter ones. All of this sets the stage for why the coming trailer is expected to feel heavy. The show did not leave things in a safe place, and stories like this usually pay off tension instead of quietly dropping it. Season 1 ended with worry. Season 2 looks ready to turn that worry into something much harder to watch. Most fans are looking in the wrong place for hints about Season 2. They're watching interviews and reading headlines, but the real clues are hiding in smaller, quieter spots that most people scroll right past. Behind-the-scenes photos, for example, have shown certain actors on set locations that do not match anything from Season 1. That alone tells us the story is moving into new territory, possibly territory tied to land the family has never dealt with before. Costume choices also give away more than people realize. When a character suddenly appears in darker clothing, or in clothing that looks worn down and tired, it often means their storyline is about to get heavier too. Set designers and costume teams do not make random choices. Every detail is planned to match where the character is heading emotionally. Another clue comes from filming schedules. Certain actors were called to set far less than others during key filming weeks. In shows like this, screen time often connects directly to how much a character matters going forward. A drop in filming days can quietly hint that a character's story is being wrapped up, one way or another. Social media has also given away small signs. A few cast members have posted farewell-style messages about their time filming this season, using words like final chapter or last ride, without saying it directly. Words like that rarely show up by accident. Crew members have also shared short clips showing emotional reactions right after certain scenes were filmed, including some visibly shaken expressions from people standing off camera. That kind of reaction usually happens after something big was just shot, not a normal everyday scene. When you put all of these small details together, a picture starts to form. New locations point to new conflict. Costume changes point to harder times ahead for specific characters. Lighter filming schedules point to reduced roles or possible exits. and quiet, almost hidden messages from the cast point to an ending that meant something deep to the people who filmed it. None of these clues on their own would mean much, but together, they build a pattern that lines up with everything fans have been guessing since Season 1 ended. It is not just talk anymore. It is small pieces slowly forming one bigger, heavier picture. Out of every guess floating around online, one theory keeps coming up more than the rest, and it centers on family loyalty being tested in a way it never has before. For years, the Dutton family has stayed united against outside threats, land developers, rival ranchers, and anyone trying to take what belongs to them. But this theory suggests the real danger in Season 2 comes from inside the family, not outside it. The idea is simple but painful. One family member may be forced to choose between protecting the ranch and protecting someone they love. That kind of choice has been hinted at before, but never fully explored. If the writers finally go there, it would change the entire feel of the show. Fans have pointed to small moments in trailers and interviews where cast members hesitate when asked about family trust this season. That hesitation feels different from normal press training. It feels like they are avoiding something specific. Another part of this theory involves an outside pressure that forces this choice into the open, whether it comes from a legal battle, a financial collapse, or an old enemy returning with new leverage. Something appears to be pushing one character into a corner where loyalty and survival cannot both win. What makes this theory hit so hard is how real it feels. Family-run land, especially large valuable land, often creates exactly this kind of conflict in real life. Money and legacy have a way of turning family members against each other, even when nobody wants it to happen. The show has always drawn from real ranching struggles, so this kind of internal conflict would not be out of place. It would actually feel earned. If this theory turns out to be true, it means Season 2 is not just about outside threats anymore. It becomes personal in a way that older seasons never fully committed to. And that shift, from family versus the world to family versus itself, is exactly the kind of turn that could leave longtime fans emotionally wrecked by the time the season ends. If even half of these theories turn out to be true, Season 2 would not just be another chapter in the story. It would be a turning point that changes how the entire show moves forward from here. Think about it this way. Every season so far has been about protecting the ranch from something outside the family. Season 2 seems ready to flip that idea completely. Instead of one clear enemy to fight, the family may be forced to fight each other, or at least fight the trust that has always held them together. That kind of shift does not just affect one episode. It changes the emotional foundation the entire show is built on. Once trust breaks inside a family like this, it rarely goes back to how it was before. Writers usually let that kind of damage linger for seasons, not episodes. So even if Season 2 ends with some kind of resolution, the effects could shape every season that comes after it. There is also the bigger question of legacy. The ranch has always been treated as something almost sacred, passed down and protected no matter the cost. If this season introduces real cracks in that loyalty, it forces viewers to ask a harder question. What actually holds this family together, the land or the love? That question has been sitting quietly under the surface of the show since the beginning, and Season 2 looks ready to finally bring it out into the open. This is also why the trailer matters so much. A trailer is usually the first real signal of tone. If it leans emotional instead of action-heavy, if it focuses on quiet, tense moments instead of big dramatic fights, that alone tells fans this season is going somewhere heavier and more personal. Some viewers might miss the loud conflict from earlier seasons. Others might appreciate a deeper, more emotional story finally getting the space it deserves. Either way, one thing seems clear. Season 2 is not being built to comfort longtime fans. It is being built to test them, the same way it is about to test the Dutton family itself. And if that turns out to be true, this could. There is one more detail that ties everything together, and it is the piece most fans have completely overlooked. Every big theory so far focuses on conflict, loss, or broken trust. But almost nobody is talking about timing. And timing might be the most telling clue of all. Look at when this season is being released compared to past seasons. Networks do not pick release windows by accident. A show gets placed in a certain month because it fits the mood the network wants to create around it. Heavier, more emotional shows often get pushed into quieter release windows, away from big flashy premiere season, so the story gets full attention without competing against loud, action-packed competition. That alone hints at a slower, more emotional pace this time around. Marketing patterns matter too. Early promotional material for this season has leaned more into moody music and slow, quiet visuals instead of fast cuts and big dramatic action shots. That kind of marketing choice almost always signals a tone shift behind the scenes. Studios do not waste money on marketing that does not match the actual product. If the trailers and posters feel heavier, the season is probably heavier too. Then there is the writer's room angle, something casual fans rarely think about. Reports have hinted that key writers spent extra time this season focused on personal, character-driven storylines instead of big action sequences. When a writing team shifts its energy that directly, it usually means they are building towards something they consider important enough to slow down for. Shows do not usually slow their pace unless they are setting up a moment meant to matter. Put all of this together, the release timing, the marketing tone, and the writing focus, and it paints a clear picture. This season was not built to entertain quickly and move on. It was built to sit with people, to make them feel something long after the episode ends. That is exactly why so many fans believe this trailer, when it finally drops, will not just excite people. It will quietly warn them that something painful is coming, long before a single word of dialogue is spoken. Sometimes the most honest answers come from what people avoid saying, not what they actually say. And when you go back and watch recent interviews with the cast, a pattern starts to show up that feels impossible to ignore. Ask any of them a simple question about Season 2, and watch closely. Most of them smile, pause a little longer than normal, and then give an answer that says almost nothing. That is not how people usually talk about a season they are excited for. When actors are genuinely thrilled about upcoming episodes, they tend to hint at things, even small things, without meaning to. Excitement is hard to hide. But careful, guarded answers usually mean something else is going on, something they were told not to talk about. A few cast members have even used the same kind of phrase when describing this season, calling it heavy, or calling it a season that changes everything. Hearing one person say that could mean nothing. Hearing it repeated by different people in separate interviews starts to feel like more than a coincidence. It starts to feel like a shared understanding of what is coming, something they all experienced together while filming. Body language matters here too. In a few clips, actors visibly shift in their seats or look away briefly when certain character names come up. That kind of reaction is hard to fake, and it usually only happens when a question touches something personal or emotional they went through during filming. Then there is the silence around specific characters. Fans have noticed that certain names barely come up at all in recent interviews, almost like the topic is being avoided on purpose. In an industry built around promotion and hype, silence like that stands out. If a character truly had nothing important happening this season, their name would come up naturally. Its absence says more than any answer could. When you combine the pauses, the repeated language, the body language, and the strange silence around certain characters, it becomes hard to believe nothing serious happened this season. The cast may not be allowed to say it directly, but almost everything about how they talk and what they choose not to talk about points toward a season built around real emotional weight, not just another round of ranch drama. So where does all of this leave us? Nothing here is confirmed yet, and that is important to remember. These are clues, patterns, and careful reading between the lines, not official facts handed out by the show itself. But when you put every piece next to each other, the unfinished pain from Season 1, the quiet clues hiding in behind-the-scenes footage, the theory about family loyalty being tested from the inside, the timing and marketing choices pointing to a heavier tone, and a cast that seems to be holding something back, it becomes hard to believe Season 2 will feel light or easy to watch. Everything points toward a story that is ready to hurt before it heals, if it heals at all. The real answers will only come once the trailer actually drops and once the season airs. Until then, all anyone can do is watch closely, read between the lines, and prepare for something that might hit harder than expected. That is honestly part of what makes this show special. It has never been afraid to make its audience feel something real, even when that feeling is uncomfortable. So now it is your turn. Out of everything covered in this video, which theory do you think is closest to the truth? Do you believe the real threat this season comes from inside the family, or do you think something else entirely is waiting to be revealed? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because conversations like that are exactly what keep this community strong while we all wait for real answers. If this video helped you see the season differently, consider subscribing so you do not miss the breakdown the moment the real trailer finally drops. Turn on notifications too, because when it happens, we will be covering it in full detail, moment by moment. Until then, stay ready because everything points to this being one of the most emotional seasons this show has ever given us.